grew up in a Christian home, probably one of your most favorite parts of the day would be evening worship. Maybe it was after bath time, hair is wet, clean cotton pajamas, and you walk in barefoot, and your parents put you on the sofa beside them, or you're sitting in your bed and they sit on the bed with you, and they open a Bible story book and they start reading to you, sharing with you text from the book of Daniel, maybe. You remember that? Reading about Daniel and the lion's den, reading about the dream that Daniel was able to interpret for Nebuchadnezzar, or how the Hebrews insisted that they only eat clean foods, and after the test period they were 10 times wiser, smarter than all of those who ate of the king's table. Do you remember those stories? Probably, if you think about it long enough, if you maybe close your eyes, you can remember the watercolor paintings from the storybooks. Maybe Daniel at the bottom there with the lions, and an angel standing there watching over the lions, and the painting's done in such a way they look like big kitty cats instead of ferocious lions. And then there's the king looking down from up above, and he's calling out to Daniel, "Daniel, are you alive? Did your God save you?" What beautiful stories. You know, when you look at the stories of Daniel, all of the stories of Daniel, not eating the king's food, not bowing down to the golden image, not changing their habits of prayer, all of these stories have the same central theme, the same core, the same message from God. And that is, if you're courageous, if you stand for God, if you stand up and you face the temptations and hold on to God with all of your might, He will care for you and see you through. The story that we're looking at today from the book of Daniel is the story from Daniel chapter 3. If you would go ahead and turn to Daniel chapter 3. This is a story not so much about Daniel. Daniel must have been somewhere else in the kingdom of Babylon doing the king's business. It's about his friends, his 3 Hebrew friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, don't forget those names. There was a VeggieTales video that came out about this story, and so many kids don't remember the original names. They just remember, what was that, Debbie? Rakshak and Benny. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were their names. And just to catch you up, in Daniel chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream. He had a dream about a giant statue, and in this dream, it was made of different metals. The first part, the head, was made out of gold. The second part, his chest, was made out of silver. The third part, with his thighs, were made of bronze. Then his legs were made out of iron, and then the feet were made out of a mixture of iron and clay. And Nebuchadnezzar had no idea what the dream meant. But Daniel was given the solution, the answer to the dream, and he was able to explain it. That each of the different parts of the body, each of the different metals symbolized a different kingdom that would come after Babylon, which was the head. And then came what? Anybody? Silver, which was Medo-Persia. And then came bronze, which was Greece. Then came the iron legs, which was Rome. And then came the mixture, clay. It was the 10 kingdoms that came out of Rome after Rome fell. So anyway, Nebuchadnezzar was able to give the king an answer to the vision. So now we're in Daniel chapter 3, and Nebuchadnezzar's been thinking about this dream that he had in the statue. And he's thinking, he says, so if the head of gold is Babylon, which is going to be conquered by another kingdom, Medo-Persia, I'm going to beat this God of Daniel at his own game, and I'm going to build another statue, a huge statue, 90 feet tall, 9 feet wide, and instead of it just having a head of gold symbolizing me, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, the whole thing is going to be gold, because my kingdom is not going to be defeated by Daniel's God. But it's also interesting to note, and I want you to pay attention to this, Nebuchadnezzar had a different goal, another goal in erecting this statue. He wanted to bring unity of religion all over his kingdom. You know, he had conquered all of these nations all around him. His kingdom was huge. And he brought in all of these people, those who worshiped the one true God and others who worshiped other pagan gods besides what they worshiped in Babylon. And he wanted to bring them together and have them worship one God. Well, why not be him? And so he erected the statue of himself, and he wanted to unify all of the people in worship. Basically, what Nebuchadnezzar is saying is, who does Daniel's God think he is? Saying that my kingdom is going to end. That is a bunch of hogwash. I am going to build this statue. My kingdom is going to last forever. I am going to make a new God for everyone to worship, and he's going to be in my image. In my image. So then it came time for the statue of Nebuchadnezzar to be dedicated. And so Nebuchadnezzar brought all of the wise men, all of the rulers of Babylon together, including Daniel's friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And they're all gathered together on the plain of Dura. And there they are given their marching orders. You know the story. When the music plays, everybody bows down on all those instruments. All those weird named instruments start playing. Everyone is to bow down at the foot of this giant statue of Nebuchadnezzar, and everyone is to worship it. Now notice what Nebuchadnezzar says in Daniel chapter 3, verse 6. He says, whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. You know, sometimes people need a little encouragement. Would you be encouraged? Would that get the fire lit under your pants, so to speak? Well, it worked with everybody except Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You know the story. The orchestra, they tuned. First violin started playing its note, and the rest of the orchestra got in tune with the first violin, and the conductor walked out on stage, and he flipped his tails, and he raised his baton, and he came down the downbeat, and the orchestra began to play, and everyone all over the kingdom fell to their knees, and they began to worship this great statue. But there were these three young men, very conspicuous young men. While everyone was laying out on their faces, these three men, I picture, not only standing, but they were on their tiptoes, because they were standing up for God. Well, Nebuchadnezzar hears about this, and he sends for the three young men. He has them brought to him, and he says, basically, I believe what we have here is a failure to communicate. I made my point clear, did I not? When the music plays, you're supposed to bow down and worship me. And he is full of rage. He is furious. And he says, since you obviously didn't get it the first time, I'm just going to give you, out of the kindness of my heart, I'm going to give you another opportunity to do what is right. So when the music plays, I want the three of you to fall in line with everybody else. And I want you to hit the ground. And if you don't, you're going to die. What's interesting, it's interesting to me, the response that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego give to the king. Look in chapter 3, verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to give you an answer concerning this matter. We don't have to defend ourselves before you, Nebuchadnezzar. We don't have to give an explanation to you, and there's really no sense in even playing the music again. Let the orchestra take the rest of the afternoon off, because we are not going to bow down whatever the consequences are. It's not going to happen. Can you imagine what these three guys are doing? They are literally challenging Nebuchadnezzar. And then look at verse 17. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the furnace of blazing fire, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. This is in your face. I mean, this is not just, this is not waffling. This isn't, I don't really think that we could do that, king. Could we possibly do something else to show our loyalty to you? There's no caving here. These three young men are going toe-to-toe with the most powerful man in the known world.